This is the Convene podcast. My name is Maggie, Digital Media Editor. At Convening Leaders 2025, 5 main stage speakers will encourage the audience to expand their own thinking. Convene spoke with Kishore Mahbubani, former UN Security Council President and authority on geopolitical shifts, about using business events as platforms for global understanding and collaboration. CL25 speaker Kishore Mahbubani on the Coming Asian Century. Written and read by Barbara Palmer, Deputy Editor at Convene.
Kishore Mahbubani has spent his life and career navigating shifting geographical, political, and cultural borders. His parents were part of a mass migration from India following the 1947 partition of India into 2 states. And Mahbubani was born in Singapore when the island was still a colony of the British Crown. Lifted out of poverty by a scholarship to attend what's now the National University of Singapore, NUS, Mahbubani joined Singapore's Ministry of Foreign Affairs after earning a graduate degree in philosophy and later was the founding dean of Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at NUS. Currently a distinguished fellow at the Asia Research Institute at NUS, where he coordinates its Asian Peace Program, Mahbubani's greatest influence outside of Singapore arguably has come through the 10 books and numerous newspaper and journal articles he's written exploring the shifting power dynamics between the East and the West. We reached out to Mahbubani to talk to him about his upcoming talk at Convening Leaders and asked him the following 3 questions. 1. What do you think that the West most needs to understand about how geopolitics has changed as it affects Asia and the West? He answered that the 21st century will be the Asian century. In fact, from year 1 AD through 1820, the 2 largest economies in the world were those of China and India. So the last 200 years, in a sense, have been a kind of aberration. And now we are reaching back to the historical norm. And it's happening very, very fast. As recently as the year 2000, the United States GNP was 10 trillion, and all of the combined Asian countries' GNP was 9.5 trillion. But now, already, Asia's economy is 1.5 times bigger than that of the United States. And by 2050, the combined Asian economy will be 3 times the size of the United States. This is a massive shift of economic power from west to east, and I think that's what the world needs to prepare for. Question 2. What do you consider to be the biggest risks facing the world right now? Geopolitical contests. Of course, we have, sadly, the continuing war in Gaza, the continuing war in Ukraine. But the biggest geopolitical contest is always the one within the world's number 1 power, which today is the U.S., and the world's number 1 emerging power, which today is China. And I have no doubt that this contest will accelerate over the next 10 years or so. I don't think there'll be a war because in a war within 2 nuclear powers, you don't have a winner and a loser. You have a loser and a loser. But everything short of war, you will see more and more measures being taken by both sides. And that's what we need to prepare for. At the same time, I think most Asian countries would prefer if the United States and China could moderate their contests somewhat and focus on common challenges like, for example, climate change. Climate change is a real challenge that all of humanity must come together to face. At the end of the day, if you're in the same boat and the boat is sinking, It doesn't matter who has the bigger cabin on the boat. What matters is whether or not the boat is sinking. So this is what I hope the United States and China would agree on, to come together to handle common global challenges like climate change and put the pause button on the geopolitical contest. Question 3. What role do you see for business events in helping to advance that kind of global collaboration? I see a tremendous role for PCMA. I find that when people look at other parts of the world, they keep thinking, these people must be very different from us. And in some ways they are. But at the same time, Americans who come to Asia, especially when they meet their business leader counterparts, are surprised to find that they speak English fluently, that they understand the world very well, and that they want to cooperate and collaborate with American institutions. I think it's important to emphasize that the Asian century is not opposed to the American century. It is in some ways a continuation of the American century, because all the key principles that have enabled the success of Asia come from the United States of America. It is the U.S. that taught the Asians the power of free trade and the power of free trade agreements. When Americans come to Asia and they feel the Asian century, they'll also feel at home, because you'll see these societies are succeeding on the basis of well-known American principles. So an Asian century, but one that's been built on many useful and valuable American principles. So there'll be no clash of civilizations. There'll be a fusion of civilizations.
If you enjoyed this episode, do give us a 5-star review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For more industry insights, visit pcma.org/convene. Stay inspired, keep inspiring, and until next time.